And 3 inches of bath water. So anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the Interesting Modelling Co. Midweek Review. With well, tonight we've got
tired boys.
Sorry,
the tired boys.
I was going to say 2 of the 7 dwarves here tonight, Sleepy and Dopey. Well, we're not saying which one's which. Drew has just been out doing Drew things, concerts mostly, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm currently running on about 3 hours sleep in the last 36. So
I think on your personal battery, I think you're down to about 3% now, aren't you?
Yeah. It's there's warnings and energy savers kicking in and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I'm just having a bit of a dare I call it long COVID? No, I'm just having a really fatigued day. I did go out for a walk this afternoon with my friend Reg, and we did about 5, nearly 6 miles around the fields. But honest to God, it's just murder. It really is. And I think towards the end of the walk, he wanted to murder me because I was so slow. But anyway, we're here. We're here. And well, this is the first time I've had a chance to speak to Drew post Telford.
Post Telford, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
To talk to him about what it was like there. I will say this, and I will say this to your face. Quite a few people came up to the where I was doing the demos, and they said, "Is Drew here?" And I thought, "Oh, hello, he owes them money." No, a lot of people came up and they said, "Is Drew here?" And I said, "No, he's not, unfortunately." And they expressed what I interpreted to be
a degree of utter delight.
Yeah, genuine disappointment. And
that's very nice of them. That's very nice of them.
Exactly. So I said, no, we'll get him on board. We'll get him back next year. I've got to say, despite my own misgivings about being in a big kind of crowded event like that, and things playing on my mind, but I sat down on the Saturday morning, and then the next thing I know, we were packing up on the Sunday evening. And you know what I'm like. Before a show, that I'll just be like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was. I've got no doubt at all. Had I gone, I would have been exactly the same.
Yeah.
I would say I'm become a bit of a stick in the mud these days, and I would like to do it the way we used to do it again.
No, fine, we'll do it. We'll do it.
I would like that, which isn't incidentally the reason I didn't do it this year. The reason I didn't do it this year was just headspace.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have obviously I shall return. But yeah, it would feel to me, if we did it the way we always have done it next year, it would feel more life affirming, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we're truly, we're truly back,
I've got to say, I did slightly miss the Friday session and being, going to Cosford and all that. I did actually miss that this year.
What I like about that is that it makes the weekend feel stretched out and relaxed rather than compressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the fact that we can just bimble up if we decide we're going to stop for a cup of tea or whatever we do, and I really, that's part of the weekend for me. We'll
work it out. We'll work it out for next year. Don't worry.
And life isn't life without Genesis on a dark, windy,
absolutely
road
absolutely.
Back, is it?
And and it was. I mean, like I say, my weekend it absolutely flew by. I was really, getting quite anxious going up there. Of just kind of, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm sat there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm counting the hours down. No, as soon as I got there, it flew by, and it was good. I enjoyed it despite myself. I enjoyed it. So,
and I think that's often. I mean, with the greatest of respect, that is often the way with you, John.
Yeah,
you enjoy stuff in spite of yourself. And this year, I at various points over the weekend, I was tuning in and seeing what people were up to and thinking, oh, I really wish I'd gone. But overall, I'm still happy that I made the right decision not to.
I'm glad we didn't go to the 2021 show, because that, by all accounts, was just a bit. How can I describe that? It was kind of it was the low calorie Telford. It was missing some stuff. This felt more like the good old Telford. I will say there were some noticeable omissions and gaps, not only metaphysically but physically as well. Most notably, not many traders and things from Europe. Gee, I wonder why that was.
Well, yeah. Sadly, it's that is the way of it. I mean, and the thing is, the traders are being quite open about why they're not coming, aren't they? So
yeah, exactly.
And they're making no bones about the reasons that they're not coming. Is that with new rules and regulations, it makes no financial sense for them.
No financial sense whatsoever.
You just used to assume that people like Edward would just be there because it's just
I walked around the corner and I was suddenly like, there's something missing here, and then I suddenly realised, yeah, it's the Revell stand.
Yeah,
it's not there. It was still busy. It was good, but there was a feeling I had that it wasn't quite. This is going to sound this actually I think is a good point, and this is not a slight against the committee or anything like that, because they're powerless in this as well. But I felt this year it was a good show, but it was certainly down on the international element of it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
It was good to meet up with Raymond Chung of Kinetic, and there was a few other people there. From oh goodness me, COVID brain fog here. The guy from Qatari, Richard.
Oh yeah, Alexander, is it?
Yeah, Richard Alexander. Yeah, he was there. So there was still an international contingent, but it was noticeable that it wasn't quite as robust.
Yeah, but I mean, even someone like Raymond from Kinetic, that arguably is on the back of the fact he's setting up a UK distribution channel himself, isn't he? So he's kind of he's working around the restrictions that feel to us like these things are getting nobbled a bit by international trading regulations, shall we say?
Yeah, let's not mention the B word, but it is the B word anyway. Right, going to have a shout out to some people here, because some of the good people here did come along and make themselves known on the weekend, which was very good. In fact, some of them even came along and bought me cake. Actually, a huge thing of lemon cake, which was absolutely fantastic. It's
been a lot of cake recently that I haven't been a part of, I have to say.
I know. Well, you snooze, you lose. You weren't there, you miss out. Actually, I've got to say, the little cupcakes that that Jodie Whiting made for us. Well, I say us.
Do you know what? I saw those cupcakes and I was like, oh my word, I don't believe this.
They looked amazing. Like Bristol Fighter. They were delicious.
They looked amazing.
They were amazing. I should have actually eaten one live on the camera so that you could have actually seen my face melt, because they were great.
They did look absolutely everything about it just looked, it was such a beautifully presented professional package. It was one of those things you almost wouldn't want to eat it because it was so beautiful, but you overcame that, and obviously
absolutely. I ate them. I shared them out a bit, obviously. I shared them out with everybody who was around. I think Mr. Farmer tucked into one. And it was good. And like I say, some brave souls came up and said, hello, it's me from it's me, and it was nice to put names to faces and faces to names and things. So it was without blowing smoke up our own derrieres, it was nice to hear from people who said, no, this is why I tune in, and this is why I watch it. And it's like, well, that's good. That's what you want to hear, you know.
Yeah, it's having it reinforces why you want to do it, doesn't it? If you you know, it's no very few people object to being complimented on something. And sometimes you can go a bit of a while without really thinking about what we do, and that some people actually do quite like it.
Yeah. A couple of people said, you know, well, we watched the show and we like to see 3 middle-aged men having a midlife crisis, and it makes us feel better about our lives. But I just thought, well, it's still a service, isn't it? So
we're still helping. Yeah,
absolutely.
Therapy.
Right, here we go. Let's say hello to Jerry Doyle, who's evening stuck in traffic. Okay. Dougal McWoogle. I've met Dougal. It's not his real name, but okay. And Mark Ryan, Nick Brown, David Murray, Dan Wood, Andy Brennan, Lee Suter. All familiar faces now. Where I overshot myself there. Paul Kuprovic, Mike Williams, Greg Woodbridge, Rob Monfee. Andy King, James Ray, Noel Owens, Darren McQuillan, Mike Clages. He says, "Welcome back, Drew." God, what a suck up.
Well, you know, it's just they know where the talent is.
Do they? Well,
they know. Yeah, they clearly know where the talent is, and they know when somebody's just holding the fort. That's
anyway. Dennis Mogg. Just lost the thing here. Stephen Pryor, Simon Lewis. He said, Dennis Mogg says, "Good evening, all. Drew, get some sleep." Don't worry, he'll be asleep halfway through this show. Darren McGuinness says,
"These are painted on."
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, Darren McGuinness says, "Good evening. It was great to meet you at Telford, JM." That's very kind of you, Darren. That was very, very kind of you. Paul Cave, hello. Brian Wilton, Jim Altergott. He says, "Guten Tag" from Chicago. And who else is here? There's lots of people who actually turned up and said, "I watch your show, but I never actually. I'm self-conscious about putting my name on the thing or whatever." Which I tend to think to myself, well, are you worried you might be identified or something? You know, but Rob Monfee makes a very good point. We had traders from Canada and North America. International was up on 2021 with some. And some still can't come, e.g., Zoikimura. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. We're not.
Nobody's having a dig at the committee, Rob. These are just observations on the way the world has changed.
Yeah, exactly.
In the last
Gordon
few years.
J says hello from Ayrshire. Hobby Time says hi, guys. Jim Altergott says, "Are we approaching the season of mince pies?" I think we might be, Jim.
Can't say too much, but in fact, yes, we are. Yes.
In fact, hang about. Hold on, lads. I just got to check something. Right, let's have a look. I just got to check the diary here, and oh, that's a shame. Wednesday, the 30th of next Wednesday is the 30th. Next Wednesday is the 30th of November, which is a shame because had it been Wednesday, the 1st of December, we would have had a live mince pie eating on the show, just to kind of but no mince pies until the 1st of December. He said, going into the front room in a minute to admire his Christmas tree. But never mind, don't worry about that. David Ross says, "Evening all from Inverness." Mike and Penn Richardson said, "Good to see you both live. First time we've managed it for a while." I'll come to that in a minute. So Mike and Penn says, "By the way, what happened to the recording of Sunday's show?" I went back in because I wasn't happy with the audio on it. It was really kind of echoey and crackly and whatever, and I just couldn't salvage the audio on that. And the thing is, I'm such a stickler for audio these days, seeing as we've managed to improve it somewhat. I said to Jen, look, I'm going to have to can it, but we will get you back on the show again to talk about this again. So yeah, sorry about that. It just went, unfortunately. We're such sticklers for perfection. We really are. Douglas Hunter says, "Good evening, everyone." Gordon J reminds us that Revell 32nd scale hurricane element, which we're going to talk about in a second. Dave Cass says, "Evening all. Nice to meet you."
Got stuff to say.
Sorry?
We've got stuff to say.
You got stuff to say, all right. Ian Goldstraw says, "Evening all." So we look. Oh God, lost where I am. Julian Dallimore says evening. Jared Watkinson, my neighbour, just over the hill there. He says evening peeps. Davros Halfbeard says good to see the dynamic duo back.
And us.
And he says picture Frozen guys. No, it seems to be okay. Herman Handbrush, I love these names. Hello all. Jazz Madahar, good evening. He says, I missed Telford this year, which was a shame. Oh, always next year, always next year. Gordon J actually reminds us that next Wednesday is St. Andrew's Day, so you can have haggis. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm going to see if I can get a vegetarian haggis, because I've had them before and they're very nice. So Mike Williams says, I'm already on my second box of 12 mince pies. Fine. Jim Tate says, has your 24 scale Spitfire dropped yet? It's stunning video reviews, really don't do it justice. We haven't done a video, but there are video reviews out there. We haven't done one yet, so but we'll sort it out. Steve Moores, purveyor of very nice cakes, cake rather. He's here. He says, sorry I'm late. That's fine. Colin Gibbs says, evening from a cold, damp Scotland. Is there any kind of different Scotland? I'll ask you, Drew. You're from that neck of the woods.
Oh,
don't worry, you can get some digs in about
looks out window. Really?
I know. And Christopher Joseph Buchholz says, which one of you is Batman and which one is Robin?
Do we know that bloke?
I tend to think of myself more as Alfred.
He just kind of Chris just kind of hangs around, doesn't he? He's like, hangs around shouting from the gallery.
He does, but we do love Chris. So yeah, so thank you everybody who's tuned in tonight. That's very kind of you. And like I say, right, yeah, so like I say, Sunday I wasn't happy with the audio. Sorry folks, it was just I went back and listened to it and it was just crackly and it just kept dropping in and out all the time. And like I say, Drew knows how absolutely what a stickler I am for making sure the audio is as good as we can make it. In fact, we've now fine-tuned it between ourselves with our little clip-on mics and our settings that we no longer have the kind of dropouts and things that we were getting. So you know, so yeah, we'll get Jan back on for a Christmas show anyway. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. I just didn't want that to go out there with it all without it sounding like it was kind of a combination between Norman Collier and a Smith's Crisp packet. So yeah, it went. But
or a
anyway.
Smith song even.
So, or a Smith song, yeah, even worse. So big hello to everybody who's here. Drew, what is you working on at the moment?
I'm still stuck on the Super Hornet, but we are making progress,
right?
Shall we say? But it's an awfully there's so much that goes into these sorts of jets that it seems to almost take on a life of its own. Let's have a look. So, you know, we are definitely, you know, making a lot of progress on it. So I'll just take the canopies off. But, you know, I've got a coat of varnish on it, the Ever Perfect VMS. And it's brought in all that weathering is toning in quite nicely, I think. And, you know, we're just starting to go down all the details and things that the undercarriages, you know, put in 6 or 7 decals on each undercarriage leg. You know, we never used to do that, did we?
No.
So, you know, things like all these little things like the undercarriage legs are in place, and you know, it's standing up like so. So we're getting there. I've started adding some oil work around, you know, the high traffic areas that you get on these aircraft. So there's a bit around the tails at the moment, and then I'll work on a bit back from you know, the leading edge route extensions and stuff. And you just settle into this sort of never-ending round of adding details and touching in. So, you know, after the varnish had dried for a day or two, I had to mask off these navigation lights and spray them, so they're sort of glossy against the rest of the finish. And then add those lights on the tail and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of feels like I've made significant progress in the last few days, but there's still quite a long way to go. And obviously there's stuff like the the wing outer panels are still, they're not glued in place yet, so they just go on for keep it all out of the way. So other things are, I'm working on these are the phase hanger pylons, which I've painted and washed and stuff, so they're ready for the stores to go on and be installed. I've sort of mounted the missiles now on their launchers, and painted and weathered the launchers themselves, the launch rails. And then you got things like these, the things like the tanks and the things like the drop tanks. The drop tanks are phase hanger as well, and then you've got the jamming pods here. But they've all been finished basically for months. They've been finished since about July, and just hanging around in the box. And this is one that never hit the shelf of doom, but it did seem to go on hiatus quite often. Let's have a look. See, it's quite a lot, isn't there?
Well, I'm just thinking. I seem to make rapid progress with this Tamiya Comet, and then I suddenly seem to kind of hit that quagmire of constantly doing things, but it doesn't feel like it's actually moved forward in any way.
No, it's like, this Super Hornet, or this Growler as it is, in the next few days, it'll really start coming together as stuff just gets added. So I had to clean up all the doors, weather the doors, paint all the red edges on the doors, filbert brushes for the wind, by the way. Nothing cuts in like a filbert, does it? So they're all done, and these are, let's have a look. So these are resin printed, 3D printed wheels. I found a gentleman on the web, and I downloaded his wheels, and I reworked them a bit in Fusion to suit this kit. So hopefully you can see how all the treads there on it that's been picked out and stuff like that. Let's put them in there. But the thing with all these wheels, it's the same with the nose wheel. The hub is separate, so it can be painted and weathered separately, and then just dropped in like that. So yeah, they're all ready, and I really wasn't happy with. And this is where things start running away with you. I printed my own intake liners and stuff.
Ooh.
Designed and printed my own intake liners, but I really didn't like the exhausts themselves. They're really not very nicely done. So you go hunting around, and I went hunting around last week, and so we ended up getting these from ResKit in Ukraine. Some replacement exhaust nozzles, and these are just absolutely spectacular. So yeah, you can see all these petals have all got individual detail on them, and there's an inner part that will sit up in there with all the inside detail replicated. Its own one piece liners there. And some etch for the flame holders. Yeah, these are just, so each one is 4 resin parts like so, that all sort of sandwiched together, and obviously with the flame holders in. So they're obviously going to need a lot of very careful painting, but it's just that they're not cheap, but I also don't think they're egregiously expensive, shall we say. No. So these were about, I paid about £16 for this set, and I just think, you look at that petal there and how it's been printed and reproduced.
Yeah,
and it is just utterly. ResKit are probably amongst the best in the world at the moment, without a doubt. And it's just £16. Yeah, I'm gonna. definitely start. I've had a few res kit odds and ends in the past, but every time I get something from them, I think, look, if I'm building a model, especially of a fast jet, and res kit do replacement parts, just buy them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And don't forget, people, if you do that, you're also putting money into the Ukrainian economy. So
absolutely.
so whilst I was, I have been working on my own, my own exhaust pedals, designing my own as practice. You know, when there's stuff like this readily available, you know, it takes about 4 days to be delivered. And yeah, you know, you're also helping an economy that very badly needs help at the moment. I'm just thinking, yeah, no problem. You know, take my money, basically. You know, and as we've said previously, I do understand that for some people that kind of financial outlay isn't a problem, or is a problem. You know, they don't have that. But if you do, you know, and I'm in that fortunate position where I do have that kind of financial freedom, I say do it. You know, and you know, enjoy your hobby to the maximum. And the other thing I got was I really didn't like the Meng seats, so at the same time I ordered a set of Ares NACEs or SJU 17 ejector seats for the model. So just sort of gilding the lily as it is, because as I've got sort of closer to the end of this build or further on in this build, you know, at various points I've lost quite a lot of friends. Yeah, that's always welcome to my life. Now, at some points I've lost quite a lot of impetus with it and thought, is this ever going to get finished, or is this going to go in the shelf of doom and eventually be disposed of? But as it's got to this stage and everything's starting to come together, I'm starting to think I might have something a little bit special here.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's starting to really look like something that I'm really looking forward to sitting back and photographing when it's finished. So perhaps the extended build time of this has paid dividends, and it's really starting to come together into something I hope, barring any disasters upcoming, I can be justifiably proud of when it's done.
Yeah, I think you are going to really, really like the F-16.
Yes, and that the F-16 is going to be, that will be the next project. Yeah, I want to. I do want to get that together into build as soon as. So I'm hoping maybe another week on the Super Hornet. Sorry, Growler, not Super Hornet. I'm hoping that another week on the Growler will see that finished. But at the same time, I still don't want to rush that through.
Yep.
Because it's really starting to look to me like it might be something a little bit special when it's done. One of my better models. And the kit is brilliant as well, I have to say. I mean, apart from, you know, I've highlighted various little bits and bobs. I don't like the exhaust. The seats aren't brilliant. But it's that aside, in general, this is just a beautiful model. Highly recommended. Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Oh, what's that then? Oh, Mike Williams.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those ones where it was, you know, until the varnish, that final varnish went on, I was still sort of having my doubts. And then you do that final varnish thing, and it just yanks everything together, doesn't it? And settles everything down. And again, that is just I've been having some trouble with VMS recently as well, getting VMS to go down well. And then it just occurred to me last week, it's pressure. You need to just increase the pressure and push it through the brush, because people are thinning it and all sorts. And when you start thinning VMS, I find that's when you start having problems with it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't settle down to the finish that you want it to be. So this is a very liberally flooded on coat of VMS at really quite high pressure they're sat in. And it just pulls down, doesn't it? It just pulls straight
It's
into
fabulous varnish. It really is.
It's just absolutely spectacular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, VMS varnishes, people. They're still the best.
Yep, and we say a big thank you to Uncle Night Shift for pointing us in the direction of them.
Yeah, and it's also available. I think they've also released it in 100 ml bottles as well. So they've released big old bottles of it.
Big old bottles.
But yeah,
big
definitely. If people get this and try this and they're using the matte or the satin, guys, you need to get the pressure right up there on your airbrush because it's quite thick.
Yeah.
But don't be tempted to thin it with anything.
Now, I'm just having a look here. Blah, 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 blah. And Jim Alcott says, currently working on the Takom Grant tank. So far, impressed with the engineering and fit. You know what, Jim? That's on the 101 million kits that have been released in the last year or so. I'd love to build one of them. I haven't got the time to it. I mean, this is where I've told this story on the show, but this is where I'm going to have to tell this story again, much to my chagrin. And that was that Lauren came over, and because Raymond gave us an F-16, then Lauren came over, and he said, "I've got two more for you here, one for Tim Maunder and a spare one." And unfortunately, I had to say, "Well, we'll take the one for Tim, but we haven't got. I can't think of anybody who'll take the third one, and I didn't want to take a kit for the sake of taking
No, absolutely, and I think you said it was an AM as well, wasn't it? So we've got an AM.
It's the European, the NATO one. So
if there'd been an F-16C, I'd have been tempted to say yes and done two. Do two at the same time. Do one of each variant at the same time.
Yeah.
But that option, that just wasn't there as an option. But yeah, it is. We like to have a plan for stuff, don't we?
Yeah, like I say, I try to explain to Lauren that I'm not snubbing you here. I'll take one, but I don't want to be greedy and take two because I won't be able to do anything with the third one. Of course, when I thought about it, I thought I should have taken it and offered it as a prize on here. But hindsight, COVID brain fog and everything. So
which would have been a really nice prize. Which would have been a really.
But I'm sure Lauren, he understood. It wasn't me kind of like we don't want another one. It was like no, we've got no capacity or use for it. And this is what I'm saying is there's so many kits coming out, like Jim Alcott building a Takom Grant. I mean, God, I love Grant. I love the Lee Grant family. There's no way I'm going to find room for that at the moment. I've got to try and get this. I've got to try and get this kinetic. I've got to try and get this Tamiya Comet finished, and also finish off my Airfix Austin K2 ambulance, seeing as we are what's the word we're looking for? We are brand. Are we brand ambassadors? What do we call ourselves? We're the home team. Content creators. There we go. We're content creators. So I'm mindful of the fact that I've got to get that finished. And in fact, Herman Handbrush then dangles temptation in thy face. And he says, I have the Takom Panzer 1A and 1B.
That's the one we've discussed previously.
Yeah, two full models. Haven't started them yet, but they look good. Yeah, and this is it. I said to Drew, I'm going to get one of them, and then you build, because I'll build the 1A and you build the 1B or whatever. But plus,
yeah, it's just time, isn't it? Because I'm, at the moment, my plan is, I will do that F-16 after this Growler for the channel, and then I think I don't know yet. I haven't had it confirmed, but I think probably my over Christmas project, if I can get the F-16 out of the way, is going to be a certain company's Lightning II, isn't it?
Yes. So yeah, your
my dance card is full for the next 8 weeks or so.
Like I say, we try to be responsible and not kind of like, just send us everything, because I don't like the idea of kits not being.
We don't want to let people down.
No, precisely. Simon Lewis says you could have auctioned it. Yeah, Simon, I could have auctioned it, but unfortunately, like I say, at the time, I was just in like an absolute kind of world of COVID brain fog. And my first thought was I wouldn't want to take a kit off of somebody that we weren't actually going to use. So Anyway, won't do that again. So note to self, Drew, if somebody comes along and says, well, here's another one, I'll just say,
Yeah,
well,
just
can we
take it.
can we
We'll
just put
work
it
out
as
what to do.
surprise or something?
I think possibly just saying yes, we'll take it doesn't mean, we can find something to do with it that will be to the
Like I
benefit
say,
of somebody else.
I don't like the idea of just taking stuff and then people say, well, what did you do with
No,
that
we
kit
don't
we gave you?
we don't want to take review samples and have them just sat on a stash.
Precisely.
We're not into padding our stashes out in that way.
God, no, I'm trying to thin mine out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm just having a look. Stephen Pryor says, I'm building the new Kinetic F16A at the moment, and the fit is excellent.
It's good news. That's what we want to hear.
Hobby
It
Time
does
says,
look
what
very
What
nice.
paint did you use on the Growler, Drew?
Well, actually, the camouflage colours for one of the few times I've used it is mainly it was AK real colour. 36375 and 36320. But as for most of there's the I don't know why I'm showing the two pots. They're both pots of grey, so it's not terribly different. But for most of the detail airbrush work, shall we say, is Mr. Colour as ever, and detail paintwork, AK 3rd Gen acrylics and stuff like that. But mainly, I mean, I use Mr. Colour for nearly all of my stuff, and recently I've started bringing a few AK real colours in there if the colours are good, which is a real sticking point with AK real colour, I have to say. But if the colours are good, I'll use them. Obviously sometimes I still use MRP and Hataka and other stuff, but this particular one, the main camouflage colours are AK real colour shades. So there you go.
Dan says, any of the IntMod team planning on doing the new 24 scale Spitfire? I'm not, because I just don't have the time. Again, Drew's not.
It's just not my bag, is it? It's
not your bag. No.
No.
I think Spencer's might be doing one for one of his projects. So for one of his book projects. So it might be worth keeping an eye on that. But yeah, I'd love to do one. But again, it's kind of like, well, where am I going to find the time to do it? We will be doing some Airfix stuff, possibly even over Christmas and into the new year. But as much as I'd love to build, I've still got my old Mark 1 to finish off anyway. But no, I've got no plans to do one. It's not that I have any kind of like problems with the kit or anything. I haven't got the capacity or the time to build one.
Yeah, and it's like it's 24 scale just isn't my bag. It's not, that's not a knock on Airfix because they do tremendously well with it. It's just, it's my personal, my eye is still caught particularly by the ants and the meteor from this year. And I would really like to have a chance to have a go at, both of those in the near future. It's I suspect Spencer will be doing one because it's
I suspect you will be. Without breaking any commercial confidences, I get the feeling he'll be doing one. In fact, I think he's already mentioned that he's already got a kit. So I think, didn't he? Did. Yeah. That's my defense anyway. And Jim Altercott says, Drew. He says, Drew, have you airbrushed AK 3rd Gen paints? Just asking because I have some, but only for brush painting.
Have you airbrushed AK 3rd Gen paints? I tried airbrushing them when I got them, and I could make it work, but for me, the water-based as Euro acrylics, as I've always called them, are strictly detail paints. I don't like airbrushing them. I don't like using them for final camouflage finishes because I just find that they're just not they're not hardy enough for my clumsy style.
Yeah. Mike Williams says, any experience with SMS premium paints? I have some for the Airfix Answer, never used them before though. Yes, Mike, I've got quite a few here on the shelf. I got some from Froome. Well, this is going back nearly 2 years ago now. I got some of the German colours. They're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. They spray like a dream. My only issue with SMS paint, and I hope the guys from SMS I have fed them back this, is that there are some colours in the range that aren't there, if you see what I mean.
There's some glaring emissions, aren't there?
Yeah, some glaring emissions. So if they did a decent RAF kind of like, I don't think they even do a RAF dark green. I don't think they do, or an RAF dark earth. If they did those two, I think it's not a case of you have to have these colours, but I think if you have the basic RAF colours, dark green, dark earth, ocean grey, they do a medium sea grey, a sky, I think a midstone and a midstone and an azuri blue, you're off to a good start.
Yeah, I kind of think with paint ranges, if you're bringing out a new paint range, there are a core set of what I suppose if we go back 40 years, you'd call authentic colours that need to be in that range, aren't there? And your basic Luftwaffe World War II and RAF World War II are just are just core product, I would suggest.
Yeah.
Core enough that if I see a new paint range and those colours aren't included in it, I'm on the back foot a little bit. Because they're the paints you're going to use most of. So
and Dan Wood says, I think I saw that SMS are going to do RAF colours. Might have dreamt it though. No, I'm sure they are, but we'll get some confirmation on that. And Jim Walcott says SMS has a very thorough line of Australian military colours. They certainly do. They're very, very, very. Like I said,
absolutely,
absolutely. They are beautiful paints to spray. They really are. And Simon Lewis says, Drew. He says, with Tamiya paint, it was mentioned that you said it goes down better with X20A. Is that a new formulation, as I'm still working through an older bottle of it?
No, I don't think it's changed formulation. I just think it's always been pretty much the same. It's just that it just seems to handle better through an airbrush, especially if you're doing fine line work with traditional. I would still use. Don't get me wrong. If I was laying down an overall coat of a Tamiya paint, a Tamiya acrylic, my temptation would probably still be to use one of the leveling thinners or Tamiya lacquer thinners for that. But as soon as you go into fine freehand work, you need something that's going to atomize a bit better and be a bit more controllable and less problems with drying and stuff like that. And it's the same with guns or GSI's aqueous hobby colors. If you use an alcohol based thinner for it, you can freehand it, in my experience, much better than you can using any of the lacquer thinners.
Do you think X20A has a wetting agent in it that just?
Oh no, it does. It has. It has. I think I remember a while ago reading the MSDS on it, and it's largely alcohol and water you'd expect, but it has got a wetting agent, sort of glycerin or something in it. So yeah, there are. It's not just alcohol and water. There are other little magic potions in there, but only very tiny amounts. But that's all you need.
Alcohol and water. That sounds like my favourite kind of bump.
Yeah,
except without the water. So
that's 9 o'clock tonight sorted out.
That's it's 9 o'clock. I'm just having a look. Yeah, I'm just getting ready for that this evening. Actually, I'm just going to say we're just going to go off script for a second. Yeah, got him. Is that we've got? Did I mention to you those that coffee stout that I was getting from?
Yes,
Aldi? Yeah. Oh goodness me! Because Lidl, this is a bit like any other business, but we're a bit early. Lidl, for some reason, I can't find Derail Ale there anymore. Bum bum bum. That's a worry.
Yeah, I mean the problem is with Lidl, stuff goes in and out of fashion year on year, doesn't it? With them,
well,
so they do
move
through
for 2 years, and then it's like anyway. That's a separate thing. If you want to see me talking about the beers in Lidl and Aldi, tune in to Sunday Night Ghost Stories at 9 o'clock this evening. You will find it on Facebook. So there we go. But yeah, I'll just going to do a quick update here on my doodah.
Comet.
Yeah, Comet. I know it's called something. And well, as Drew was saying, I seem to spend a long time doing bits, and it doesn't look like I've actually done much. And yet I would have spent a couple of hours at the workbench just trimming things and gluing them and putting them on there. I mean, the only tangible sign of progress on this model, which is beautiful, by the way, is the fact that the number of parts on the sprues is slowly reducing. Which is sometimes it can be a bit like that. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do the wheels and the tracks and things, but I've got on with other bits and pieces in the meantime. But oh, this is beautiful. I mean, I love the Comet, and my love of the Comet goes back to the Matchbox kit OVS from the 1970s, and I am going to try and get hold of a Matchbox kit to kind of build as a kind of end piece for this, if you see what I mean. But other than that, I mean, this is just a typical 21st century Tamiya kit. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's not fussy. I think some people say, oh, well, it's not as detailed as the Bronco kit. No, it's not. It's probably not, but it's also not as insanely kind of, not tiresome, but protracted as building the Bronco kit. And the Bronco kit's very good, but sometimes you just want to kind of like, you just want something that's a bit more instant mashed potato, and this is lovely.
To me, are just aim at a different demographic, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the thing with that is that is going to be a tremendously fun build. Because and it's sometimes I say the thing that makes Tamiya kits so good to build is there's absolutely no challenge in building a Tamiya kit. No. And that sounds like a criticism, but in fact it's the highest compliment I can possibly pay.
Yeah, no. So that's where I am. I'm sorry, I apologize to people that they're thinking, well, this hasn't progressed much in the last week or so. I must admit, some of the nights during the week that I was a bit just kind of like long COVIDed out, quite frankly. But I mean, for example, tonight, look, we'll try and get some more bits done live on the internet, and we'll get let's get part AA out of the way. AA, there we go. Got 2 88s down here. Yeah, it's just a case of working your way through it, and bit by bit, you'll end up with.
You'll get there
essentially. I mean, I will say, let's just get these sprues, sprues. I mean, this sprue here is pretty much done now. It's just the figures, so which I will be painting for the fun of that. And we've got this. Well, hang about. Look at this runner sprue, whatever. This one here, we've only got the mud guards and those bits there. So it's we'll try and clear those sprues off really. But I'm just going to deal with these. I don't know if you can see these. Zoom. There we go. We've got these little eyelets that go onto the turret. So we'll just tidy them up and get them in place. So at least I can get a bit of progress on this tonight. Like I say, some of it. Sorry, I got my glasses in my mouth. Some of it this week, the last week or so, I thought I'd get it pretty much up to paint the week after Telford, but I don't want to keep harping on about long COVID. But goodness me, it really is, quite sapping.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing, and it's not, and I mention this just in case other people are currently suffering from it at the moment. It's not a case of it's like, oh, I just feel tired. I'm gonna go and have a lie down and go to sleep. It's not like that at all. You can still get on with things and you can still do things, but you're just not doing them with the same kind of energy. It's quite bizarre. Like I say, I went out for a walk today, which was good, but blimey, it's not that I was blowing on the final section. My breathing was fine. It's just my legs had gone completely, really seriously gone. And, we got back. And then after sit down and a cup of tea. And I will say thank you to my friend Faye, who entertained both myself and Reg with a cup of tea in her garden. Cup of tea and chocolate digestive biscuits, Drew. How about that, eh?
That's not bad. That's not bad, is it? That's a pretty.
What it is to have friends who understand your needs. But yeah, and I was all right after that. But goodness me, it's really kind of. I don't want to kind of do the woe is me thing. You know, it's kibosh my autumn because we're talking about a killer virus here. But I'm somebody who's always out and about walking and doing things and whatever, and I can feel that the strength has gone in my legs and my hips. But I'm going to try and work out a solution before I start. Before I start, popping along to the doctors and saying, "Well, what do you think?" But anyway, look, I don't want to bang on about it, but yeah, it was a nice walk today. So I'm just going to get these eyelets in, and or towing hooks, or whatever you want to call them. What do we call these, Drew? They're just like eyes, really, for stowage or something. Lifting eyes, possibly. I think they're lifting eyes.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be too prescriptive about what they're called.
Probably not. No. I'm just gonna glue them in place at the moment. The swarf around the edge from the trimming and sanding the bits off, that I will deal with once these have absolutely kind of stuck themselves in. Then I'll just go over them with a bit of Scotch-Brite. So anyway, so that'll do. That's all it requires, just a little bit of. And then anything additional you can just take out with a bit of Tamiya extra thin. So that'll do. That's all I'm doing for that. There we go. So that's all I'm doing on that. Right, Drew, shall we? Dan Wood says...
Sorry, you caught me modelling. God.
I know. That's what I was doing.
Darn it.
Dan Wood says, long COVID is so debilitating. My concentration and memory has gone to pieces, doing my head in now. Yeah, precisely. And Jen Wright says, she says, I can't concentrate for more than a few minutes at a time. Hosted a visit at work today for no more than 2 hours. Wiped me out. Yep. I think, as I say, I think it's worth sharing our experiences so that people know that they're not alone in experiencing these knock-on effects of this virus. So
I've been sort of I've been very lucky in that I haven't had a problem with COVID since I had it. I just had a pretty unpleasant experience when I had COVID.
Well, you see, I didn't, Drew. I had a fairly mild dose of it. Apart from the 24 hours or the 48 hours that I can't remember a damn thing, even though I did the washing, I did the washing up, I fed the cat, I did household tasks. I even did some work and put it up on the FTP. Can't remember doing it. It's a blur. But yeah, right. John Connolly says, hello guys. With the new Airfix Spitfire, is it still viable pushing 1/24th given the costs and the size and limited display space most modelers have? Well, I've got a theory, Drew. Well, what do you thinking? What do you reckon?
My as far as I'm concerned, if Airfix are selling them, then Airfix's job is done. They are everyone that's released sells huge amounts. And that therefore provides the impetus for the next release, and modelers shelf space and stuff, without wanting to be blunt about it, isn't Airfix's problem.
No.
And it's also clearly not a problem for those modelers who are buying it in enough numbers that Airfix look to the next one, which by the way should be a Hawk T1, but there you go.
There you go. I would say, are they viable?
Yeah, absolutely.
John Connolly says, is it viable? If they sell out of a production run, and then they sell out of the next production run, and they make their money back, there's your answer. It's
proof is in proof of the pudding, isn't it? It's we can pontificate all night long. At the end of the day, Airfix have got an ongoing 1/24th scale, program, which they add to every couple of years, really, don't they? So this is what, the first since the Hellcat?
Yes, it is.
So 4 years maybe.
Yeah, 3-4 years. Yeah.
So it clearly is a totally viable business model for them. So
I just catch up with a couple of comments here. Mike Williams says, I still there we go. I've still managed to avoid having the COVID. Fingers crossed it remains that way. Absolutely, Mike. That was my plan.
Yeah, so,
I don't know how it snuck in through my defences because I was still going out shopping and wearing masks and washing my hands and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it got. Yeah,
I don't recommend it. It's not. I don't recommend it because as much as as much as it doesn't impact many people that hard, it's a real crapshoot. Some people it knocks out, some people it's fine with. It was like when my mother had it. My mother had it at the same time as my brother and my sister-in-law. My brother and sister-in-law were absolutely destroyed with it. And my mum, who was approaching 90 at the time, said, the only reason I know I've got COVID is that I tested positive.
Same with my mum. She just had a blip on the strip. But apart from that, she's 85. So
she just carried on, and it's just like that's the only hint that mum said she had is that she tested positive. Whereas I was the same for a couple of nights. I was in a pretty poorly way.
I wasn't poorly. I just a complete memory lapse.
Oh, I was for a couple of nights. I was in a really, really bad place.
We'll just do some more Airfix 24 scale Spitfire Mark 9 stuff. Then we'll talk about the Revell Hurricane, and I think that'll be it for tonight. He got some. Here we go. Oops, Daisy. Oh no, my screen has gone a bit funny. Andy Brennan says 24th. Yeah, it's kind of done that thing where it kind of zooms in on the page, and I can't unzoom it, which is annoying. But never mind. Andy Brennan says 24 scale kits are the most profitable per unit, which is true. Yeah. Dave Mummery says I think that the Spitfire is cracking value compared to what else is on the market. I'm going to agree with that, but then I'm bound to be. Pavel Krupovic says 124 scale Spitfire isn't bigger than many 32nd scale modern jet kits or 48 scale bombers, which I would agree. It's 24 scale Spitfire isn't really that big.
No, I mean, I tend to find what happens when things go up in scale is that they get bulkier. So whilst the footprint of a 24 scale Spitfire might not be any bigger than, I don't know, the 72nd scale Vulcan, it feels bulkier just because, bigger bits, bigger.
I'm just going to disappear for a second because my
we can't see it here, John. It's absolutely transparent.
I know, but the problem is I can't navigate on the screen now because it's suddenly filled. Everything's big, so I'm just going to disappear for a couple of seconds and I'll be back in. So fill in.
Go on.
Entertain the troops.
Well, go. Oh, so he hasn't gone anywhere.
All right.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. I mean, I think the 24 scale range. Like I say, it's not my bag because I don't build in that scale. That's the end of my sort of involvement with it. But the sales and success of the range in the last 10 or 12 years, the Typhoon and the Hellcat and the Mosquito before that, which the Mosquito kind of is a bit of a crossover really between the older generation of Airfix and the new generation. Whereas stuff like the Typhoon and the Hellcat and the new Spitfire are completely of the modern generation. So if they weren't selling enough of them to make it viable, they wouldn't be doing it, would they? They're not a charity. So
Jim Aldecott says the Drew Manton show, in his dreams. And here we go. Jazz Mabahar says, to me, 24 scale Airfix is a trip down nostalgia with their last three kits further emphasizing what Airfix means to me. I started when I was 7 on an Airfix on a Series 1 Spitfire, which started my love for Airfix. Excellent. They've done 4 24 scale kits now since their
the Mosquito, Typhoon, Hellcat, and like I said, the Mosquito feels like a bit of a kind of jumping off point almost. It was one of the last of the kind of previous generation, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I kind of see that Mosquito next to the Typhoon, which is a couple of years later, and the differences in the approach to an awful lot of that is very stark.
Yeah,
I think.
Although it has to be said, the Mosquito, though, compared to a Typhoon and a Hellcat and a Spitfire, it's quite a smooth aeroplane. You can't put a load of rivets.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
rippled skin or anything like that.
But it's a lot of the other stuff. A lot of the other sort of the execution feels a bit more of an older generation, shall we say?
Yeah. Right. Let's have a little bit of controversy, because I spoke to Jen about this on Sunday, and we'll just rattle through this. Unfortunately, I don't have loads of pictures to show, but let's talk about the controversy surrounding Revell's Hurricane Mark IIB, which seems to have inflamed people's senses left, right, and centre. I don't think Revell have done themselves any favours with the images they put out, but let's go through what some of the criticisms have been. And they are that the kit doesn't depict a Mark IIB. And yet we've seen images online clearly showing it's a Mark IIB. So I think what's happened here is, and especially on this photograph of this model, is there are clearly parts for other versions that that have been incorporated into the model. It's just not the version that they said that they're doing, if you see what I mean. Is that fair enough thing to say?
Yeah.
And it was Radu Brinzan put up a load of photographs or whatever. Again, this image here, this doesn't do the kit any favors, because it's not really showing the true shape of the wing.
No, I mean the fact that you can actually see the underside of the tailplane there, tells you, it tells you that the angle is not great for showing the sort of the head-on geometry of the wing. But a lot of people got their exercise rushing to judgment. And it gets frustrating, but I don't mind people questioning it. I think people questioning these things is good. My objection really comes when you get somebody like, let's say, the designer of the model, who goes on, in some detail explaining exactly what's happened and why it's actually correct, and spends a lot of time doing that and explaining, and people either go quiet and disappear rather than saying, "Oh, that's really interesting, thanks for educating us on what's actually going on," or they double down.
Yeah, I know.
And it drives me. It's one of it just absolutely, it could make me sweary quite easily.
Yeah, let's have no swears on the show. We'll have no swears here. And again, it's kind of like this here. This is obviously made up of test shots. The fact that you've got clear parts in the
it's just weird,
in the wheelbase there. Good Lord, it's absolutely hammering down here at the moment. I don't know if you can hear that. But also just the slightly kind of pebbly look of the plastic, which is usually a function of test shots and things, where they're adjusting pressure and things. So like I said, I don't think Revell did themselves any great favors. But then the problem you've got is people are clamoring all the time for, they want to see
information. We want information.
We want information. Also, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I don't think some of the bits you're seeing in those pictures are actually injection molded. I think they're 3D printed or SLAs, because they appear to be stuck together with super glue. So
yeah, I wouldn't like to say. I mean, I don't think. I know what you're saying, that Revell don't do themselves any favors with showing stuff like this. But on the other hand, the model community doesn't do itself any favors by not standing back and taking that into consideration. This is how people get information out there, and at this point, it was still a test shot. So Revell have a choice of either showing what the test shot looks like or not showing anything at all. Make your mind up. What do you want? But don't rush to judgment. Question it by all means and seek clarification. And you got clarification on this model in no uncertain terms from the person who designed it.
There's enough about this kit that I'm optimistic that it's going to be good, but I am going to hold off on it until the kit comes out. I'm not going to kind of declare it a disaster based on some photographs of some test shots and some photographs of some test shots where it looks like somebody's used the wrong bits and pieces. Used the wrong bits and pieces. I will say that apparently the retail price on this Hurricane is going to be kind of like around about the £39-40 mark.
And that's the thing, is that you're looking again at like the same with their P51D. It wasn't the Tamiya 30-second scale one, but it also was a third of the price.
But not a third of the quality.
And I've seen some utterly fantastic models built from that. And was it the Spitfire, the early Spitfire they did as well?
Yeah, Mark 1.
Which again, that had a few more issues maybe, but you have to sort of take into consideration that they are very much designing to a cost. And
I got to say, I saw some. I had a quick read through some criticisms of the big Airfix Spitfire, and without wishing to kind of like get drawn into those discussions, I just thought, right, maybe you don't quite understand the Spitfire in the way you think you understand the Spitfire, and I think sometimes a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing.
A little knowledge can be a dangerous thing, and also some people are desperate to do the ooh look at me, I know this about an aeroplane. Have they got the third rivet on the inside of the undercarriage door on the Mark 5B one? Absolutely. And it's like, very good. Now we know what the inside of the undercarriage door looks like. Congratulations.
It's not so much that true. It's just sometimes it's a kind of like a race to kind of like try to be knowledgeable about a subject, and often it suddenly exposes how little people actually do know. I know somebody's going to say, "Oh, you're being ever so snooty and dismissive or whatever." No, because there are some very knowledgeable people out there, but there are also sometimes you get the I don't know. I'm very careful about what I'm going to say here, but you just.
All right, I won't be careful. I won't be careful because I don't need to be. There are some people who rush to share how much they think they know about a subject without really knowing. Without really knowing about the subject. If I was to give a new tool 1/32 scale BF109E to anybody, I'd give it to Lynn Ripger. You just would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You just would say, Lynn, have a look at that and tell me. But I would also know that Lynn would look through that and he would actually assess how important any given error was before. He wouldn't simply say, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Lynn knows enough of the subject and is level-headed enough to go, this isn't absolutely correct, but on the scale of things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's livable.
Yeah. He wouldn't simply... but you've got a whole sort of subculture of people who are desperate to show how much they think they know about a subject, and just rush to tell everybody who will listen.
And if you are a member of that subculture and have been offended by the things that have been said tonight, then please.
I don't care.
Yeah, well, I do care, but I just think you need to have a dialogue with them to say, well, what do you think it is that what do you think it is you're seeing here? Anyway, look. So yeah, the Comet, the Tamiya Comet, we're trying to kind of get on with that, and like I say, battling COVID and all that kind of fatigue and whatever. But we will try and get more and more bits and pieces done on it soon. So it's that time of the night. We've overshot by 15 minutes. We said
a quick one there from Dan Wood saying people love to jump in and attack Airfix and Revel releases in a way that they don't with Tamiya or other trendier manufacturers. I would take a little bit of issue with that, Dan, in that people often leap to criticize anything they can on a Tamiya kit just to just to show that they haven't, I don't know, bought into the hype or whatever. And I think that often sort of shows a complete misunderstanding of who Tamiya do models for. Their entire, their entire sort of philosophy. In that your Comet is not as complex as a Bronco one.
Yep, exactly right. Dave Fleming says, "Look at all the rubbish based on the first CAD image of the kinetic shaft." Oh goodness me, yeah, that was just a smorgasbord of oddities. The comments on that, and a lot of people who thought they knew something about Sea Harriers and they didn't. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
I must apologise again for the kinetic G91 that I appear to have effectively killed at the moment. But I was only collating information from other places and presenting it. I didn't actually know that much about the G91 in terms of cross sections and stuff when I started picking. That was other people pushing stuff to me about it, where I was going, no, this is clearly wrong. This is like badly wrong, and something needs to, like the old trumpeter 30-second scale Wildcat. Fortunately, we managed to get to them before they'd started tooling. But even then, I wasn't, I wasn't saying this is wrong, that's wrong, that needs. I was saying this needs correcting. This is not a good replica of the original aeroplane. And Raymond went, right, bin it for now, and we'll return to it if we can. And I still think I would rather have that kit not here, being as bad as the original design was, than have it here being bad.
Any other business?
Yeah, I'm off to bed in a second, so I'm going to have a bath and go to bed. So.
Oh, you haven't got any other business?
No, I haven't got any other business.
Oh, I thought you said yes.
No.
Right, okay,
No, I got my rant in at the end.
All right, well done. Yeah, absolutely. No, I haven't got any other business either. No, I can't think of anything. So it means we'll probably go on for another 20 minutes, me riffing on any other business I don't have. No, I haven't got anything. I need to try to prep for my next show. So hopefully we'll be back on Wednesday. You're around Wednesday, Drew?
This is Wednesday.
Of course it is.
Sunday.
Live on the interwebs there, people. That is COVID brain fog in action.
Yeah. I'll be back on Sunday, and I'll give you another 5 days, an update on 5 days solid work on the Growler, when it'll look no different to what it does tonight.
Well, likewise with the Comet. No, I should hopefully by Sunday you will see progress. So on that note, well, I'd just like to say thank you to Drew for joining us tonight. That's been good. It's been good to have you back in the studio. Actually, it's
It's
been a while.
I needed to do away time, but it's been a fortnight now, hasn't it? Because I came back briefly, but then other stuff got in the way again. But I'll.
Oh look, that's what you missed out on. See, if you hadn't,
you know what? There was nearly a swear then.
Yeah, there was. There was
nearly a swear.
Nearly a swear. Yeah. There's also that as well, which was, oh God, that was lovely. That was. Oh, that was like a lemon. Oh goodness me, that was like a lemon drizzle cake. Oh.
Anyway, moving on.
It was absolutely gorgeous.
Blah,
anyway,
blah,
right.
blah,
blah blah blah. Right. On that note, we'll be back on Sunday for the Sunday service. You know what? Do you know what? The Sunday service this Sunday will be the first Sunday in Advent. Officially, it is the first day of Christmas, but obviously the first day of Christmas here is November the 21st. So,
and then we'll be into December.
Then we'll be into December, and then I can actually. I'm not going to do it now, but then I can actually put the new opening titles up, which has the music that really weirds Drew out. But obviously, I'm not going to do that now.
Yes, Dan, it's well worth it.
It's here, but I'm not going to do it. Anyway, on that note, big thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight. Thank you, Drew. We will be back on Sunday. So from ourselves, stay safe. See you then.